So, hello. I'm thinking if we are live already. Who's going to give me a sign? We are live for a couple of seconds. Johannes, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning. I'm fine. Very good. Thank you.
I think while everyone is slowly joining in, we can get introduced, maybe less to one another because we've been around in business and in events for a while, but for everyone else to tell more about ourselves. Probably some people will join in a couple of minutes. I can see that it's getting a bit crowded here, which is good. I'm actually very excited about these webinar sessions that we're doing. We started like a month ago as DECTA, and we're always inviting some expert from the industry. It's funny that I'm called payments expert. I think that title should go to you. I'm just, all I know is about some technology in the background. But yeah, so we typically invite to these webinars our partners or friends or just experts in the industry to share the knowledge. And the idea is really to spread some knowledge from the behind the scenes, what we see as a payment technology business and what you guys see by actually being in the market. And hence those webinars, we want to provide a platform to talk about things without any filter, pretty much, and also to give a chance to ask questions to any of us. So maybe a bit about myself and my partner in crime, Johannes Kolbensson. So I'm working at DECTA for almost 2 years. I'm from Latvia, and I've been in payments for, I would say, nearly 4 years. So feeling still quite fresh. But yeah, my background is in tech for the past nearly 12 years, different kind of technology and software providers. So moved into payments, like I said, 4 years ago, and it looks like I will be staying here because it's a never-changing industry. It never gets boring, always is extremely challenging. So here we are trying to do our best. And I have, like I said, partner in crime, Johannes, joining me in today. He's in payments a little bit longer, since 2002. And yeah, he's from Iceland himself. Currently, I see him very often in Lithuania, and pretty much really all around the place and all around events. Johannes, do you want to say some words about yourself as well in addition?
Well, yeah, maybe I started in payments 2002. And well, there's a saying, it's a little bit like Hotel California. Once you're in payments, you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. So that's a little bit the case with me. I feel still young in the industry. There's still a lot to learn, so it's very interesting
Always.
industry. So I started first with Korta. We were initially a payment service provider. We became an acquirer, and then we started Paystrax. We did exactly the same thing, but completely differently with new type of technology and setups. So it's always interesting.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to have you here, Johannes, because really I can give in my 5 cents from the payments processors perspective, and what we hear from the clients and in the market here and there. But your real experience building, acquiring businesses, to be fair, is I think it will be really, really worthwhile. Well, I guess we're 6 minutes in. Everyone should have joined in by now. We had, by the way, slightly more than 100 people who registered for the webinar. So approximately same as the number of people here. Not to stress. So I think let's get into it. But in addition, I would still like to share a bit more on the agenda or on the plan of the call. I will be really talking about some experiences from, like I said, from the technology provider's perspective, from DECTA's perspective, and I will invite Johannes to comment on a similar notion from the perspective of someone who's actually out there in the market. And you will have a chance in each part to ask questions. There will be Slido QR codes shared later, where dear attendees of this webinar, you will have a chance to answer some of our questions, which would be really nice because it helps us to also build the further webinars and also build this webinar around your questions, so that in order to really add some value. And you will have an open-end questions to roast us at the end of the webinar. And another thing, I will be talking at the very end about let's say about a project which we're doing, or like a freebie. So stick around. So I guess without further ado, I did a similar presentation in Lithuania as well, where we decided to share more on how a typical journey of a financial entity, what does it take, what does it hold, and what are the challenges. So once you start, there are a lot of things to keep in mind. I'm sure Johannes can confirm that. And this is just what you see on the screen is just the biggest part of it. You know, you need to have your business model straight, and you need to have a strategy. You really need to have thought of the markets you will want to serve, and also to know if you have the clients, who are your clients, how to acquire them, and how to launch them, because these are the people who will be, bringing value to your business, and this is actually why your business is built. So to that point, obviously, you really need to have thought through about the value which you're bringing to those specific clients. So it's actually a lot about acquiring and even marketing, because if the market will not know about your product, and what is the problem you're solving, probably it's not going to roll that well. Fee structure is also something to keep in mind, and probably it's also an ever-changing pillar of the business. Multiple payment methods, as we are in card payment acquiring businesses, I guess most of us. You really need to know what a certain market and certain client verticals need. So for instance, in each location, there are different payment methods, preferred payment methods. That's also an ever-changing. So those systems also need to be secure and fraud-free. Again, your clients, your merchants, they definitely prefer you to report back and share some analytics and track the transactions in order to improve. And it's not it, right? You still need to set up the risk and compliance. You need all the certifications done. That's a current, that's an always upgrading and ever-changing thing as well, which is tied to a lot of cost. Fraud detection, chargeback management, it's a lot. And I think with this, Johannes, how does it look from your perspective?
Well, setting up, you mean setting up a card acquirer and
exactly, yeah.
Well, it's quite complicated. Well, acquiring is a very specific type of business, type of activity, and it's actually quite complicated type of business. And you don't really, there's no university where you can learn acquiring. So you have to have the knowledge, and you only can get the knowledge by working with another acquirer. So previously, so it's a little bit limited ways. There have been quite a lot of companies that have started in acquiring, but a few years later they decide to quit, or it didn't work. It didn't work out because they
True.
just didn't have the knowledge or experience on to set it up. And it's well, first when you start working in an acquirer, you think it's yeah, I will get it. It's no problem. It's like any other type of business. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later, you find out that you don't understand anything, and then after that, it will only get worse. And but then you have to learn and learn and learn. So I've been in this for what 23 years, and I'm still learning every single day. I'm learning something new. So it's a ever evolving, and there's always something new coming in. So it's
Yeah, that was what I was kind of trying to show and tell in the previous slide. That was just from technology perspective, like from technology perspective, right? Everything what you need to have, actually not only technology, but like all the things you need to keep in mind once you're setting up the business and maintaining your payments business. And so I already dared to switch to the next slide while you were commenting, just to give the option to answer the question. I will read the question. What has been the biggest challenge for you when running the acquiring business? And we have some answers. Finding the right vendors. I hear that a lot. This is typically when we start. It's not even about working with the client, really, because we do a lot of conversations and just being and talking in the market. And this is what I hear often, like how to find the vendors, the partners, and who to choose from that pond, and who's the more fitting to a certain business. See, fraud, it's, yeah, I guess it's an ever growing fear. And that's
it's,
yeah.
it's quite it can become quite complicated, and fraudsters are always a step ahead. So
True. They are teaching us on how to keep up. Unfortunately, then storage of encrypted cards, payment processors, pricings. That's a payments business. I think there is a lot of high fees in order to maintain it. But once you actually look into what's included in those fees, or what the provider is actually continuously serving or monitoring, that might make a bit more sense. But true, onboarding. So that means the onboarding, probably that the partners don't pay enough attention, I guess, to work once setting up with the clients. And this one, do you read Russian, Johannes?
excuse me,
Do you read Russian?
No, I don't. No, sorry.
I'm not great myself. That's something about stable coins.
Oh.
I think someone might come inside and translate the
So
comment.
maybe on the onboarding part, that's really increasingly challenge. So while we're talking about the biggest challenges, onboarding is increasingly becoming more and more challenging.
Okay.
And maybe because of the regulatory burden, that's just ever increasing.
Mm,
on acquirers and on all other payments companies and in general. But AML, GDPR, all these laws on payments, PSD2, PSD3 coming, PSR. So
yeah,
it all comes into makes onboarding quite complicated, onboarding of merchants.
yeah, yeah. Interestingly, which I think all levels of onboarding
Yeah.
could be referred to here. But Johannes, let me ask you, for you, what has been the most challenging? If I would ask the same question to you specifically with your experience, what has been the most challenging steps or parts when setting up and running an acquiring business?
It's I would say it's a combination of it's quite complicated. All the parts. It's like you said before. First, you have to decide to we have to set up the technical infrastructure, and that's like the biggest part. That's like the processor and the gateway. And are you going to have POS terminals or e-commerce services, and which currencies are you going to serve? And deciding all that, and you have to set it up from the beginning, and you have to decide on which market you're going to go before you go into the markets, and then you go into the markets with that setup that you have, and then it has to work together and work out. So it's quite a lot of moving parts, and then you have to get the regulatory license, of course, and then the card scheme licenses, and you
Yeah,
cannot get the card schemes license until you have the regulatory license, and then you can do the technical integrations. And the technical integrations have to be done in sync with all parties. So uh, this is a heavy challenge to set up. But
yeah,
when running an acquiring business, the biggest challenge there, well, one of the biggest challenges regulations,
yeah,
like I mentioned. And then keeping pace, innovating is quite complicated as well. All the alternative payment methods. And now, if they mentioned stablecoin, that's quite an interesting topic, which is now becoming more and more current.
mm. Now I have the Russian translation of one of the comments here. A stable coin backed by precious gems. That's
Ah, okay.
that's a whole business idea. It's not just a challenge.
Yeah, that's a whole.
Thanks for sharing.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, no, cool. But not to sound this too depressive here. I do want to move into probably a some smarter, let's say, ways or advisory on how to potentially set up your acquiring business in a bit more educated way. As you said, you cannot learn acquiring. It's a never change. Like you learn with every step. But if you know at least what components are there, and maybe in what order you can approach things, that I think already would be very helpful. And I don't know, Johannes, is this if this is a good time to mention, but I really want to mention this as we spoke with Johannes before this webinar. We both were at Money 2020 just now in Amsterdam last week. And then we were discussing this webinar and how we will approach it. And then he said, well, how honest can I be? And I said, very honest. It's important, right? That we're honest and transparent and try to support the ones who have joined webinar. And then Johannes said, well, if they will ask me, should I start acquiring? Like, no, you should not. Like, if you want to live a peaceful life, don't go there.
Yeah, you have to be really careful. Well, one thing is if you go into it, then you can never exit again.
Yeah, that was
But
another good point.
that's the other point of view. But on the other hand, if you don't have the knowledge, about all the moving parts, then it can become a disaster. And there are many examples of acquirers that started and then it didn't work out.
Mm.
And I know a few that started at similar time that when we started Paystrax, and they were closed down only last year, one, and then some are still working on their setups, setting up the infrastructure 7 years later. So
See, and it's a current, it's a not current, it's a constant expense. You're still maintaining the business. You're paying salaries and license fees while you're
yeah,
still setting it up. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
it's really a challenge for small companies to be an acquiring. Our company is now around, well, just above 100 employees, and we have half of them are doing some kind of governance, risk, and compliance, and security, and yeah, governance. So half of them.
Mm.
So we are probably, I probably think that 100 employee companies probably among the smallest ones that can fully operate. That's another thing. Of
This
course,
is a
there's
very,
some.
very good point, by the way. Yeah, I had a couple of people, I think after the presentation we did in Lithuania, there were a couple of people asking like what should be it? What is a good size of the company, right? Like how many people are there? But if you think about it, the whole team, right? What it consists of, even just basically your employees, what you said, right? 100 people is a good starting amount, right?
It's a good, yeah, yeah. It's when you're below that, then you're always lacking in some places. And then it's very easy to lose money in acquiring. It's very easy to lose money because you're competing in very low fees. Or if you want to make some money, then you have to go into markets where into a little bit of the higher risk markets. Otherwise, you cannot compete. The big legacy banks, they of course they own the big markets, the large merchants, and that's still the case. I think probably 80% of the total acquiring volume is done by legacy banks.
Hmm.
Uh, the Adyen's and Stripes and Paystrax and others are just doing maybe 10-20% of the total market.
And yeah, and the market is ever changing and super demanding as well. To
Yeah,
this
yeah.
slide, it's merchants are always, ask kind of showing what they need, and like you said, you need to continuously keep up with those needs, not only with licensing and compliance and fraud detection, but also to what the market needs. And there's always, there are quite few payment businesses in the world, so there's always competition, and to really stand out, it's a lot. But I'm trying to move on a little better note, and to set it all up in a little on the brighter side. And let's maybe look into what's in the jar of a financial entity. So there's several components, right? Of which the payments or acquiring business consists. I will look at that in the next slide, um, and invite Johannes also to comment on that. But to in terms of when you're setting up your business, there are several points where you can step in or start. So you can either be a technical service provider. So that would be kind of I don't want to give terms like easy or difficult, but because everything is difficult, but that would be like the first starting point, I would say, where you can, still run your e-commerce business, um, but on a kind of referral basis, where you don't own the payment gateway, but you use a technology provider, and you don't need a financial license because you have a partner who holds the license. So you just have a client base, or you're building your client base. So that's a good starting point. Kind of the next stage is a payment solution provider, where again you do run a payment gateway, but then you also have a financial license, payment institution or electronic money institution license. And there you operate through third party providers and settle your merchants directly at this stage. So you own the merchant relationships already. You just own those relationships, and don't give them away to your other partners, right? So there's there is benefit there as well. And next stage is becoming an acquirer, where Johannes has been there several times, where you already own a license with one of the card schemes. So MasterCard, Visa, Amex, UPI. This is just we named a few where DECTA is integrated with. And again, there are still these aspects you need to keep in mind. The fee structure, the business. So kind of from those aspects, which I'm mentioning now, depends which of these three business models you should step into, depending on the strategy you have, depending on the finances available to you or funding, and your ability to build up a team to serve all that. Just a quick run through from the technology components / vendors or partners you can look at. You don't need to necessarily build out all of this by yourself, hence where the partners are coming in, and vendors, which was previously mentioned in our Slido, that there's a difficulty. Some businesses or people are facing difficulty to finding those vendors. So card processor is obviously one thing. Fraud prevention partners or providers is another component. Payment gateway, obviously, to be able to serve your e-commerce merchants. 3D Secure is another layer. Settlement engine, right? And reporting and business intelligence is also very big part of your technology components. Here, I want to add another Slido. And already Johannes, maybe to this previous, from the components and vendors perspective, what has been, or maybe what you hear in the market, is a most difficult, most challenging part of this, of setting up your team and your acquiring business, and how have you overcome it, probably, or do you have any suggestions there?
Yeah, so I can share a little bit there. And so we started in Korta. We started as a PSP, and then we evolved into an acquirer. So the acquiring part was then it was a quite considerable addition. The PSP was more regarding marketing and selling, and then servicing, providing service, both technical service and commercial service, and financial settlement service as well. But becoming an acquirer, then you add the settlement, the clearing functions of the transaction and so on. But in Korta, we built all our systems in-house. We did the
Wow.
connections into Visa, MasterCard. We did the processing of the transactions. We did the gateway with connections to post terminals, the user interfaces. Everything is built in-house, even currency conversions and so on.
And do you think, was that a good idea?
At the time, yes, because there was no option. But then when we exited Korta, and then we decided, okay, we need to do it again. We need because now, and when we started Pastors in 2018, there was all these options on the market, and we said that it will be so much easier to use a vendor for the different type of products, and not having to build it in-house. But having done it before, then we knew exactly what we wanted and what we didn't want, and we knew exactly what worked and what doesn't work. So we were able to choose very well. But we built by using a system and vendor like you are providing, then you're able to go faster into the market. Uh, you're able to provide a much more complete product offering and services, and you're able to go into it in much more scale efficiency than by doing it yourself. Because when you do it yourself, you have years of building processing systems, and that's
Yeah.
quite a complicated setup. And then you have to build the gateway, you have to build all the products that you were mentioning, and that's that's probably quite a challenge.
But what has been, let's say, a couple of best decisions you've made in your business?
In this build-up, I think
Yeah.
it was really. I mean, it's different different infrastructure building than has been traditionally, and with vendors like yourself, and with different vendors in different areas. Now we can choose. We build our own core, and then we can choose and plug in from different products from different vendors. And doing that, of course, there's an initial cost, but it's not as heavy as building the whole product itself from scratch, and enables. Yeah. So I think that was a brilliant decision, and it nevertheless it took us 3 years to build the product to go live. Even we didn't build the whole processing in house.
Yeah.
Still needs all the setups, the currencies, the gateways, the all that. So it still takes time, but it's much more better achievable.
Mm. And as you mentioned, right? So what I heard is uh, choosing the right vendors and partners in the business is one of the core decisions. And obviously, from our perspective here at DECTA, we are a payments processor, right? And we really are kind of in the middle of the business because we're integrated across all the technologies and all the partners. Um, a payment processor is the one who actually monitors the transactions, sends the transactions through, communicates with Visa, MasterCard, communicates with acquirers through one or several alternative payment methods or gateways, and it's so this is like I see it like a net which is holding all the things together. So honestly, if and we all have heard about some downtimes, and it's the worst nightmare which can happen but actually if the processor is down, all the systems are not communicating and not working anymore. So it's really the core of the decision is the payments processor, and we like to actually in our office we like to compare this with a marriage, and having like a project as in onboarding project with processor and acquirer is like a prenup in the marriage, because there are so many steps and it takes a good couple of months to set it all up. And it's really like a marriage, because you first of all you don't want to end it suddenly. You really do it and hope that this kind of partnership is really going to work, and you can build together, grow together, just like in marriage, and that that the communication is going to go well. And yeah. So and then this is kind of acquiring's version of a prenup, which is the project setup once you launch with the processor. And so you can always look. I'll just quickly run through this. There's legacy processors and more modern, more agile processors. And in order to make this choice, it's like once you're dating, right? What's out there? What's in the market? Do you want to, what type of partner you want to have? I think there are plenty of things, which you can look at, but I think the important ones are here. Moving back into the processing rather than the marriage part is really speed to market, which you mentioned, Johannes, that you for 3 years, right? You were building it took 3 years to set up the business properly, right? So speed
Yeah.
to market with your vendors is obviously extremely important, right? So if you launch within a year, it takes much more time, much more cost as well, and looking at the partner who is ready to launch with your integrations much
Mhm.
faster is definitely beneficial. I think the level of support is what I often hear in the markets and from clients, or prospects, is that, and it was also mentioned in our Slido previously, that I would really suggest to, when you talk with your vendors, not only processors, um, to ask and to see how they do the onboarding, how they support you as a partner throughout the whole setup phase and also later on, because setting up, you're getting your license with Visa, Mastercard, securing those integrations is something what you are not born with knowing. Your technology providers should know and should advise you and should help you with setting things up, because I mean that's why we're in different businesses, and you shouldn't know it all. Um, Also, and then the match of the markets you want to serve and the markets your vendors are looking at, or your partners. And it's again, do you have similar goals, and do you have similar plans, and do you have similar um, tech stack, meaning, is your partner agile enough to grow or to change together with you? um, because back to the setting up with the processor, if we look at the um, project, right, this is the prenup, which I mentioned previously. There are a lot of steps which need to be taken in exactly this order, to actually start the payments business. Without the processor, without the integration with card schemes and gateway, and fraud tools, you cannot even launch. So here, look at the days, right? It takes already a couple of months. And what's very important, once you finally go live, it's not it. That's actually where everything starts. It's kind of like when you get married, it's great, but the real deal starts only after that. So you should look into your partners. I already said support, but this go live, after go live period. How do they support you, and what are the steps which need to be taken after the go live, as well? Um, this is just a quick breakdown. I'm hoping you, Johannes, will be able to add here as well, maybe a story from you, again, from when you launched one of your businesses. This is the kind of just the setup, the breakdown to still keep in mind as we are wrapping up this webinar as well. Before I announce the freebies, the freebie, and the project on what DECTA is launching for acquirers. So again, look at the proactivity of your vendors. Look at the R&D they are doing. Look at the fee structure, and is that matching the one which you are trying to build, and the timeline of it. Look at the time it takes to do the implementations together with your vendors, because these days acquired businesses are mainly not built all by yourself, but with the partners. Like I said, look at the go live period and stabilization. How is your vendor supporting you there? And always keep in mind the cost of your daily operations in parallel, because as you are onboarding with your vendor, you still have salaries to pay, you still have other systems to cover, and the licenses.
Yeah, I can only say that the number of days that you provided there is actually looks really short.
Mm,
Probably there are some project meetings on a daily or a weekly basis, so in the end probably takes a little longer. At least in our case, it took much longer. And
definitely,
a lot
that
of
was the optimal
yeah.
case scenario. This is what only from ours as processors perspective,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
we take. But there is always a communication, right, with the
Mhm.
vendor. So if this would be us answering our own questions, so this is how much it would take. But
Yeah.
still, you need to apply, you need to fill in the documentation. So it takes, I would say, twice as much even. I just didn't want to scare.
Yeah.
It's a two-way, it's a communication, right? So as soon as one side answers, we're ready to move on to the next step. So
I think this integration probably took 1.5 years in our case.
yeah,
But on the other hand, I mean, this really looks good, and I think the products that are built in and the way it is set up and how essentially you should be able to do it. You should be able to do it like this, and there should not be more time needed. But in the end, it tends to take more than you expect.
yeah, yeah,
But with regards to the marriage, then of course, like at the same time, changing processor can be quite difficult. Can be also quite painful. It's probably similar like a divorce as well. So, but then having orchestration platforms, maybe you can use more than one processor. But that's like I don't know how that fits into the marriage proposal.
the analogy, it's okay, we can change the analogy there. That's yeah. um Now moving, I actually thought like we're probably going to chat for like half an hour with you, and look, it's already 45 minutes in. I unfortunately, I cannot see all the faces who are here in the webinar and still with us. But by the way, there will be a chance to re-watch the webinar later on as well. So this is recorded. But here, I just wanted to mention what we have decided to kind of do at DECTA. Johannes, please bear with me here. Knowing now all the challenges and the heaviness on the acquirer's shoulders, payments business shoulders when it's launching, we decided to partner up. I mean, we are partnering with Visa and MasterCard, but to really go into this joint project of fast track. What that is giving a chance to a acquirer, card either issuing or card acquiring business, to launch with us, with payments processor, um, with some heavy and significant cost saving involved. Um, so if you are into card acquiring or card issuing business, or you know someone, and who is searching for a payments processor and will be working with Visa or MasterCard, you can apply for this program, and we will be choosing one business per quarter with whom we will be building this project and setting up the payments processing, with some significant, I don't want to say free of charge, it always sounds really bad, but because of support from Visa and MasterCard, we're able to give significant discounts once we are doing it. So obviously there will be no setup fees and a reduced monthly pricing for the first year as well. This is probably a good moment if someone, for those who are watching, to make a screenshot of this slide. However, there will be a QR code which will lead you directly to the application as well. Really, why we do it? There's no hooks or hidden agenda. It's really just the fact that, first of all, we have the know-how, we have the industry knowledge and expertise in the business. Why not to share it with the ecosystem? Secondly, we do have the support from Visa and MasterCard, which enables us also to launch this project together with them. We do have the connections in the market, in the industry, where we can again do those introductions as needed. And this is an ever-changing ecosystem, and like Johannes also said, there's confirmed, basically there's so much happening all the time, and it's just we do want to give back to the community, because this is how we see the businesses working the best as well, that vendors and are supporting each other. Like I said, one project per quarter. The July one will be closing soon, so in July. So, but you can still also make it to the October's one. And I'll just, I think, wrap up because I've mentioned all of this already. However, this is the QR code. You guys who are still in the webinar should scan, which will lead you to sufficient information and application form as well. Also, I am here for any questions. If not here, then find me on LinkedIn or directly per phone, per email, per post. And there is still the last open-ended questions to me or Johannes. Let's see if we haven't scared everyone away with the challenge and heaviness of this business. So still, by scanning the QR code, you can go to Slido, ask us any questions, but also, of course, if those questions come up later, I'm sure you can reach out to Johannes as well.
So I think maybe to add, of course, maybe it sounds heavy and complicated, and probably it is. I was not intending to scare people away, because when you're in there, it's very rewarding and it's very interesting. I love this game. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, hey, but I think there's, I don't think we scared away. I mean, we're all in this business, right? And it's a choice. And obviously, it is, like you said, it is rewarding. There is a reason. There is a open, how to say, there is space still. And it all makes sense. And we do have here a couple of questions. I will ask help to someone who's in the webinar to translate the Russian question in English, please. And Johannes, I think this question is to you. What is the real time it takes to start the acquiring business? So you mentioned the 3 years previously, but yeah, maybe you could just give.
Yeah, I would say for us, it took 3 years from when we started the license application until we went live. I think it was, it was around 3 years. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, but we knew exactly what we wanted and how we wanted to have it set up, but it's still took. But I'm quite sure with newer platforms, newer providers now, newer technology, it should be able to be done faster.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I know some who started at the same time as we are, and they're still working on their infrastructure and their platforms, and it's still some errors in the gateways, and errors in this business can be quite costly. If the comma is not in the correct place in the transaction, could be quite high financial repercussions. So yeah.
Yeah. And to actually add here, um, maybe 3 years, but it definitely can be much faster because we have clients where we launched. I mean, they were already almost through with the license. Sorry, with the membership with Visa, and they had already chosen their providers, right? Mostly. So so I don't know how much time it took them to set that part up and to make those decisions, but from the moment I know we signed, it took 3 months to integrate the systems, but then the tokenization, of course, comes on top of it, which you need to know to be able to serve uh, secure payments and did like with digital wallets, Google Play, Google Pay, Apple Pay as well. That takes good 4 months on top of it. However, in the meantime, if you can integrate with all the other systems, so I would say it's possible to do it in 1.5 years as well. Oh, what is the average cost to set up a business? I guess a payments business.
Well,
That's
I
to
heard
you.
I heard that you cannot set up an acquirer with less than 15 million euros. We did it for considerably less, maybe 1/5 of it or something similar. Yeah, a quarter of it. But I think it's you need to have the funding for the all the technology setup and the gateways and all the you have to hire a lot of people that you have to have on payroll until you start to make some income, and the income has to then cover until you break even. So that's a lot of, but maybe we are a little bit slow and we are a little bit not, but then there's always something that happens and it costs additionally, and you have to, and
Yeah.
it's always going to be more expensive than you think before. Of course, when we started, I thought that we would be setting it up within a year and we would be breaking even immediately and we would be profitable and all that. Well, that didn't happen. So it took a little longer and more money.
Yeah. But I think it's also exactly this what you're sharing is should also work as like reassuring to others in the business that it's okay. It's okay that things take longer. It's okay to reconsider something in the process of it, and it's okay to yeah, that it's difficult basically. There's more questions. Actually, this roasting part works really well. What are the problems clients typically come to you as a tech provider? That's probably to me. Let me cover this at the end, because I think the other questions are a bit shorter, and I think it's to Johannes. Do your cards work with crypto? Since I mean, because from us, DECTA as a payments processor can process crypto in the gateway as an alternative payment method, yes, but I think it's more to you, Johannes.
We are processing any Visa and Mastercard cards. So if if the card is backed with crypto, that's not relevant to us really. So it can be with stable coins or crypto or whatever. We process it. It's just a card transaction for us. So absolutely, that's more on the issuer side probably.
Yeah, exactly. Then I'm going to go to the Russian question, which I was consulting here with with the team. I think it goes to you. Do you provide custodial services?
Custodial services. So for like safeguarding of funds or
I imagine, yeah.
so we don't do that, or we have safeguarding of our customer funds, but we use banking partners for that. I think we have we have around 70 bank accounts with 8 banks. So we have safeguarding in all type of currencies and for all type of business. We don't do it ourselves. We do
Yeah,
with business partners, banking
yeah,
partners.
yeah. Here I have actually, there are more questions which are not asked publicly, but is in the chat, which I don't see, but my team sees. So first of all, someone said, very interesting insights. Thank you. So I just wanted to read it out to you, Johannes. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for giving us some just some feedback, basically. So another question, particularly the fast track program, presumably the project support and delivery to assist with that. If I understand this correctly, in the fast track program, we do the project setup together with you, just as with any of the clients. And we assist with, I have some more questions coming here. And yes, we assist with advising and hand-holding throughout the whole process. It's a no-brainer. It's a basic, it's a standard way of onboarding a new partner in a project. Another question, from a fintech perspective, how do you help to ensure the right prioritization within the larger companies within that delivery chain? I think it's for you. For you, Johannes, how do you ensure the right prioritization within all the companies and all the vendors in the chain? So the importance of those, I think, if I understand it correctly.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the question correctly. But prioritizing vendors, it all has to hang together in the end. If there's one, the weakest link in the chain can destroy everything. And then if you don't have a market for it, you have the whole setup ready. So marketing is also important, and financing and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
This also maybe connects a bit with this other question, which I enjoy. What are the things you would do different in setting up a new business today, Johannes?
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably do a lot different because you always learn. We did a lot of mistakes as we went through it, and we learned a lot by doing them. And then projects take a long time, and then to add all kinds of services. So I would probably
maybe one thing. Sorry, I'm also roasting you now. I'm sorry, but like maybe one thing. I don't know, the setting up the right, team, or like what one thing.
That's probably a lot to do with technology setup. I mean, it's probably like when you're finding going, like you were saying, when you're going on a date, you have a lot to think about before you get married. But I think, well, the technology is evolving very fast. So there's more technology, newer technology. Like we see acquirers like, for example, Adyen, which is doing extremely well on the market, but they are getting legacy. Their technology is getting very, very old. We are more than 10 years younger than them, and slowly we will also become legacy. So it's keeping up with technology, and it's maybe when you're married, you get old, you have to find new ways of keeping the spark or something. You have to be able to attract the market, sell to the market, be efficient, provide the services that are in demand. And now, like the stable coin settlements is coming in, and there's all kinds of new gateway orchestration and so on. So it's
yeah, and someone actually commented once to the previous poll, which was closed, that also acquiring for crypto payments is a challenge as well, like you said. And so I will just add to this. And again, we've been here an hour. I think it's time to to wrap it up, and thank you everyone for joining in. I just really hope we were able to add some value to you. And Johannes, it wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
sharing openly. And yeah, I think it's good to close with what you said in mind. I'll quote you, as in marriage, so in payments business, to stay on top of the game, to see what the market asks. So again, to ever changing and adjusting,
Mm.
and growing together is the key, and choosing the right one.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, guys. With this, I wish everyone a lovely week ahead, a good day. Reach out to both of us, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you in the business.
Thank you very
Johannes,
much.
thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoy Malta. I know you're there.
Thanks. Absolutely.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.